Well, cool.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is our, I guess, 1 month sort of update for MeshDB. My name is Willard. I use they, them pronouns.
I'm Andrew. You see him.
And yeah, we just wanted to touch base and give you guys a quick update on what we're working on, and where we're gonna go in the next month or so.
Yeah, Willard, who are you? What do you do?
Oh well, I'm Willard. Like I said, I do installs and I write software and sometimes yell at servers.
How long have you been on the Mesh?
Oh, since July.
And I'm Andrew. Yeah, hi. I do software install, also maintenance stuff sometimes. And I've been on the Mesh for like 2 years, so just over 2 years at this point. And yeah, and some of the folks working on MeshDB.
Yeah, so I guess just hopping into it. Quick overview for folks who weren't here.
Yeah, we gave a presentation about a month ago. Also, you can check on the YouTube if you want like a full summary, but we'll give
this is very abridged.
An overview here. Yeah.
But yeah, MeshDB is basically a new system for storing and accessing information about our network and the people who are connected to it. It's like a custom Django app that's open source and is meant to replace our older system. Yeah, again, for full details, there's a recording of that presentation on the YouTube. And yeah, it's just meant to provide a nice interface and a nice API to interact with all that data. So I guess here's the proposed timeline that we had. Andrew, if you want to talk about that.
So this is our slide from last month, and we had a pretty optimistic timeline that, here we are. We're giving you an update at the April org meeting. And we were hoping to sort of immediately go from here to we can replace a spreadsheet. Unfortunately, we've made some progress, but we're not there yet. So we merged 41 pull requests. We've closed 26 issues. I feel like we made actually quite a bit of progress. We've actually picked up 2 new contributors on the repository in that time. And we are definitely making progress, right? Like this, to me, this shows very good progress, right? We got 26 closed issues. Unfortunately, 21 new issues in that time. So the trajectory is headed in the right direction, but we still got a little bit to go, right? So here's our milestone in the tracking software, right? We were hoping to get to being ready to launch by April 23rd. Unfortunately, we're 50% of the way there. We've still got 23 issues left to go.
And to be clear, like a lot of this, these new issues have been people giving us feedback and requesting new features and finding bugs. So thank you guys very much for that. You guys know who you are. Really appreciate it. Keep it coming. Very much appreciate it.
That was really our biggest ask last time was it was to get all of that feedback. And I think this 21 new issues shows some of that feedback coming in and being absorbed into our tracking. So thank you. Cool.
So yeah, I guess update. What are we working on right now? What are we going to do in the next month or so? Well, first of all, I think the main thing that we're concerned about is where to host this software. Right now, it's running on a single box. Just like it was the beta, get something working. But we have recently installed in one of our super nodes a new fully fledged server. We call it John. And it's a proper box with enterprise grade durability. It's got redundant storage and all that stuff. So we're going to be migrating over there in the next month, and we'll have a much more sort of stable platform for this software and be much more confident in data durability and availability. So that's being worked on. We're also working on a monitoring stack. We have a project in the works to get Datadog, which is a monitoring software. We can get that for free through our 501c3 status. So we're going to be integrating that into the project so that we can, get better telemetry and better logs and stuff like that from MeshDB and other projects as well in the Mesh. We're also working on a bunch of UI and workflow improvements. Again, that feedback is very much appreciated in the MeshDB channel. People have been using it, volunteers, installers, have been using it and saying, hey, this workflow is broken, or I can't do this, or how do I do that? And so we've been working on improving that interface and making it as usable as possible for as many people as possible. So that's been very awesome. There's also been bugs. Software is software, so there have been bugs, and we've been working through those bugs. And then also there's projects in the works, and this is probably the most exciting part of more tools, more new creative ways to use all of this data that is now more accessible through the API and everything. So people I know have been proposing ideas and working on plans for like a post-installation form, or more robust onboarding for people to fill out the join form, stuff like that. And then of course documentation as well. We've been working on some wiki pages for the wiki. We've been working on our onboarding documentation for new developers, and just generally how to use MeshDB. So we're working on all these things, and I guess here's sort of our new timeline, what we're thinking going forward from here.
Yeah, so it's if you saw the slide last month, it's basically sort of the same idea. We're shifted back a month, which, like I said, we don't want to rush anything. Last month I said, we want to do this properly. We don't want to screw things up. This has public-facing impacts, and so we don't want to, make the mesh look bad or cause any outages. And so we're happy to kick this back a month and continue sort of iterating here. So we'll give you an update next month, hopefully with better news.
Speaking of good news, get involved. We've got issues, and we are trying to get people onboarded. We've already got a couple new contributors. So if this could be you, if you want to be a contributor to MeshDB, please come and hang out with us tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We're going to be having like a virtual onboarding sort of sync meeting. Just I'll drop a link in the MeshDB channel on Slack at 7:30 tomorrow. If you're at all interested in working on this project with us, if you want to learn Python, Django, Postgres, JavaScript, if you are interested in programming and you think you could help, come hang out. What's up?
What proficiency we have to have with Python, let's say? Repeat the question.
The question
yeah, the
was,
question-
what level of proficiency do you have to have with, say, Python?
Well, I think that whatever skill level you have, as long as you wanna help out and learn, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I think somebody asked this in the Slack, and your response was
No experience necessary.
but willingness to learn is required. Yeah.
Yeah, read docs, ask questions, break things and then fix them. That's AI. Use AI. I don't know. But yeah, 7:30 p.m. tomorrow in MeshDB. Be there. We will hopefully try to get get people working on projects and pointed in the right direction, set up in dev environment and all that stuff. So yeah, come hang out. I guess that was it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, questions?
Yeah, thank you.
There's one response online that says, yes, I will be there.
Awesome, cool. Excited to see you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Any questions from the room?
Mic stand at the front.
Okay.
You mentioned high
Just give
availability.
the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Wait for the mic.
Yeah. There's two mics, so I'll hold the other one.
Does this work?
It will once I turn it on.
You had mentioned about moving from the brand box to a high availability rack mount server inside of one of the databases, or inside of one of the supernodes. Is there plans for high availability between multiple supernodes?
In the long term, yes. We may not have that immediately at launch, but yes, that's certainly something we are talking about, and we have some issues to track. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. I think there's a thread for it somewhere in the MeshDB channel.
Yeah, it's not trivial. It's some work to do, but it is important because our supernodes are not, perfectly reliable, and it would suck if the join form went down. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Help wanted.
Over here. There's an online question. Will the link to the GitHub be posted on the channel link, or is it in the Slack?
The links to the GitHub, I've been kind of spraying them everywhere. There they are. Again.
Also, these are somewhat out of date. We've actually moved they'll redirect, but we've actually moved the repo to the NYC Mesh org.
Oh yeah, they've moved
So
to the
if you just go to the NYC Mesh org, it's one of the most recently committed repositories.
Yeah. They should be in the Slack as well.
It's
It's
pinned
all
in
on
the Slack.
top of
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of them is MeshDB, the other one is Mesh Forms. So MeshDB is sort of the back-end database. Mesh Forms is, I guess, where our front-end code is going. Yeah.
What have you learned on this journey that
What have
you've
we
taken?
learned? That is,
We keep,
I don't want to take
hearing
up.
about all the great things that you're doing, which are incredible. I want to hear about the failures and
Yeah.
how we've made friends along the way.
Yeah, well, I guess to talk about everything, we'd be here all night. Learned a lot, but I guess generally, don't put computers on roofs. Let's see.
That's the entire premise of the Mesh, Willard.
Oh, oops. Do that, but not for Django applications. Let's see. Containerization is difficult, but when you get it right, it works pretty well. I think that the first time you try something, it probably won't work, but just try again, and eventually it'll work. Also, teamwork is kind of the only way to get anything big like this done. Without the help of Andrew and Andy and Quincy and James over there, and like everybody else who has provided any kind of like advice or like, comments on this project, this would not be possible. So
I think it's like an accountability thing as well. It's like, oh, like, am I gonna get up tomorrow and work on this? Like, yeah, Willard's expecting stuff from me, right? And like sort of holding each other accountable.
Yeah, so
That's really important.
Yeah.
And also, the community wants so many features. They want an infinite number of features. And learning to say, no, not right now, I think has been a very important skill.
please,
Yeah.
we've got 7. We need more.
One other question. I know you said anybody that wants to help can help. Where do you guys think you need the most help? I'm giving you the tough ones tonight.
Yeah,
That is a tough
yeah.
one.
I think that we really need people to like be like the. I think a lot of it is front end. I think that like there's a lot of like front end work that still needs to get done. The admin panel has kind of been the center of my focus lately. So like making that as good as possible and as usable as possible. Also, like people have, like I said, like people have ideas and requests for other tools, right? And so part of that can go into Mesh Forms in the TypeScript repo, but we don't really have a lot of capacity there either.
And even on the non-technical front, there are some opportunities. Like, I'd love to have more comprehensive documentation for administrators, right? For like,
Yeah.
do things this way, don't do things that way. If you click that, it'll break something, right? Like those kinds of things, I think, are something, where it would be like there's a broader set of people who could help with that. And so certainly if there's someone who thinks, oh yeah, I have some technical skills, but I'm not like super sharp Python developer, there are opportunities for that sort of a thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we've been spending a lot of time making sure that the backend and the data model and the hosting and all of that stuff is as good as possible, because that is like sort of the foundations. So now these like layers where like that let people actually use the thing, that's like, I think they're going to be the key part in the next like couple of months. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. Over here.
We're gonna
Microphone.
pass the microphone. Oh, John's got us.
Are you guys using any project management software to manage your?
I mean, we use the tools that are built into GitHub, which are pretty good. Yeah, there's like a project board and a status tracker. Yeah.
And all that's like totally public.
Yep.
So if you want to go look, even if you're like, not interested in like contributing, if you want to go look at that, you totally can. If you know somebody who's looking for a project, send them our way.
All right, I know we got a couple other presentations, so I think with that, thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. John, you had the. Okay, cool. Give me a sec. Switch to laptop screen. Okay, 1 second. And then unify outputs. And then slideshow. Okay,
Thank you, thank you.
cool. I'm gonna get out of your way.
Sure. Okay. Jolly, are you ready?
Which mic? Did you take this mic?
I don't know whose I took.
You've got.
I've got one on my lapel. I think it's Andrew's.
If the other one's for sale,
The other one's in here.
good box.
Yeah.
It just means I've got to get the slide.
Yep.
Okay, it should be good.
Okay. Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm John. I use he, they pronouns. I've been doing mesh stuff for about 2 years at this point in time. What else? Oh, yes. My reason that I do mesh is I want to have an excuse to use power tools. So that's kind of my main focus here. I've been working on this hub on the Upper West Side called Olmsted, and I'm going to give a project update. I've been working on it for the past few months, so this is kind of our monthly update. So as background, it's right off the 96th Street B-C station on the Upper West Side on 97th Street. Confusingly, its address is 382 Central Park West, but whatever. It's got about 400 units in the building, where our goal is to wire all 400 units for 1 gigabit or 10 gigabit fiber connectivity, similar to how we're doing in Grand, across the 600 units across these 3 buildings. The main project areas are the basement rack, the roof rack, and the roof antennas. And then there's also going to be a link to a data center with dark fiber. We're going to try and run that at 40 gigabits, similar to how we're doing Grand right here. So then bottom of the screen, you can see the floor plan. So this is an interesting building in that there's actually an east wing and a west wing. There's kind of a firewall in between them. So it's as if there are 2 separate 20-story buildings that are all one big building. In terms of progress, I have just a few slides on what we've done in the past month. So we finished building out the DC distribution box. So this is going to live outside on the roof and provide power to all the outdoor equipment. We got some of the custom fiber delivered from China. That was kind of crucial to our mission. It's 12-strand fiber running between the basement and the roof, and then custom length fiber running to each individual floor. We're doing a trial floor to start, see how that goes, and then order the rest of the building's fiber just to try and stage things along. The bottom right corner of the screen is also our server rack where we're going to be running all of the building's fiber out of. So you can see all the little cables sticking out of that. Yep. And then another day, we ended up actually getting all that fiber into the riser conduit inside the stairwell. So running that off the spool and up to the 15th floor, running that along the basement into our little server room, and then on the 15th floor, running it along the raceway that's already installed to outside each individual apartment. So those are some of the pictures there. Another thing, we mounted the racks on the wall, non-trivial task. They can hold a couple hundred pounds each, so getting them secured so that they're not going to drop their thousands of dollars of equipment is a very important thing. So we can see Chris drilling into the wall in the center. And then on your left, you'll have the basement rack, and on the right is the roof rack. Then very, very recently, this past week or two, we've been working outside on the rooftop in beautiful weather to actually get the antenna masts mounted. So we're going to be mounting one in one corner, one in the other corner. They're going to kind of split their roles, and we're going to have plenty of extra space for additional antennas in the future. So you can kind of see our mast mounting mechanism here, and then in the top right, those are our antennas pointed out at the south and the west of the Upper West Side. So that's how people in the neighborhood will connect. And then bottom right is the outdoor network panel where we're actually plugging everything into. Is that everything? Yeah. And then yesterday, we contacted Pilot Fiber. They're the ones providing the 40 gigabit link between the data center and this building. They are responsible for getting their own fiber off of the street and into the building to a point that we describe. So the survey starts where they come in and they look at their demarcation point where they stop owning it, and they kind of give us a patch panel for us to plug into. So we started there, and then we worked our way outside trying to figure, okay, how do we get outside the building? How do we get to the street where the fiber is? So we were walking around doing that. One of the complications was that we thought it might go through the adjacent building that's not owned by the same company. Turns out we were walking through their basement and doesn't appear that it's going through there, so we think it's probably running under a sidewalk that used to actually be 98th Street. So that's our best guess at the moment. But yeah, we're going to be hearing more from them in the next week. I think they're going to give us a quote or something, Zach, or they come back with a feasibility result based on all the information that they collected yesterday. So. Oh, okay. So we already have a quote. I guess this is, I don't know what this is going to end up being, but hopefully it'll have good information. Yeah, it'll be a surprise. So in terms of what's next, we've got 1 week left in April, so I'm hoping that next week, Monday, Tuesday, we'll be able to kind of finalize some of the outdoor installation. So mounting the second mast and then getting some additional cable run. In May, we should have our trial floor online, assuming the fiber lease actually comes through and gets connected. We'll see if that's feasible or not. If it's not, we should have an antenna connected up to CCNY in Harlem, and we can get a link that way, theoretically. I don't know how much traffic it'll serve, but it will be a link. And then June and July, after we're done with the trial floor and we confirm it's all okay, we wait our month and a half for all the cables to come from China, and we install the rest of the building. So that's kind of how I'm looking for the next couple months. I've got, 20 plus people at this point in time that have helped me at various stages along the way, some of them in this room, so thank you all for helping. Yeah, that's it. Cool. You've got a question over here.
Who's got the mic?
There's one in the box.
Once we start doing the rollout for the rest of the building, what is kind of, I know the plan was that we can kind of order fiber, we can order supplies as we go. So, we'll have a stock of supplies available to connect, however many, like each apartment needs a custom length fiber basically. So we order, we'll have 10 or 15 of each length or whatever. What is kind of I presume we're gonna order what we need for the first 50 apartments right off, or the 50 people that have already signed up, the wait list. We'll order that immediately. And then have we really kind of thought about, in terms of we have a month and a half lead time or a month lead time on fiber, like what stock we want to keep?
Sure. Haven't thought about that too much. I only got budget approval from the Mesh board for the trial floor, so that's only 11 apartments, I think, at the moment, plus a couple spares. So I'm hoping to have a discussion with the board to talk about what sort of investment do we need, how many months of lead time do we want to be able to satisfy with, a particular order, because it would be nice to have, 6 months of supply, see our sign-up rate, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would basically, kind of try to predict obviously when someone signs up, we want to be like, okay, cool, we can grab the stuff and go, kind of thing.
Right. So in the hallway, there are 11 different lengths of fiber we can need custom ordered, or we can cobble together the specific lengths we need out of a fewer amount. So that is kind of our limiting factor. And then I'm planning on ordering all up front the fiber runs to each of the floors that we're going to be connecting, because we'll just run that all at once. So the hard work is done, the basement work is done. We just have to plug in on a particular floor.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
How do we get involved if we want to come and help you on site? Is that a possibility? Or?
Yeah, totally a possibility. I try sometimes to post in the volunteer channel on Slack. Most of my posts end up being in the Slack channel for this, which I don't think I added to this presentation, but it has Olmsted in the name. It's the only one with Olmsted in the name. So yeah, and you can come to me after and I can send you a link if you want.
Cool, thank
Yeah.
you.
But the key to that is that we only have building access at the moment during business hours on weekdays, so it's kind of limiting to a lot of our volunteer base to actually come during 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a Monday, Tuesday, that sort of thing.
I'm available then, so.
Cool. Yeah,
Let's talk.
you're one of the few then. That's great. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you all for your time. You want me to unplug? Is the next presentation going to be using this computer too?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you're going to use it. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm glad it's such a well-attended meeting today. We have special guests and several students from Youth Action, YouthBuilds NextGen Network Tech training program in East Harlem are here. This is a great alliance that we're forming, a partnership with this program that's training people for network jobs, right? For internet installer jobs. Youth Action, YouthBuilds approached us for a collaboration. We helped them to get the grant that got this training program off the ground, and now they helped us with some other proposals for getting access to federal and state funds for increasing affordable broadband installation. And the plan is that some of you volunteers will make yourselves available to teach these students more stuff about how mesh happens. Youth Action YouthBuilds owns 15 six-story buildings in East Harlem. There are some NYCHA towers around. There's a Taino Towers. We're talking to the people there. That would be a great place to have a neighborhood hub, but there's also Link NYCs near some of these buildings. So hoping that some of these mesh volunteers can make themselves available when it comes time to teach these students how we do it and actually do it on some of the rooftops. So we have Edwin here is going to give a presentation.
Should I use this one?
No, use that one, put that one back in the box.
All right. In this box?
Yeah.
You want to sit down too? Or?
So you've got one on, right?
Yeah, I got this one on. Can you hear me all right? All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Edwin Reed-Sanchez. This is...
My name's Adam Seecomar. I'm the program manager for NextGen.
I'm going to be talking a little bit about the NextGen Digital Workforce Program, and I'll talk a little bit about myself too, but I'll get to that later. I'm Edwin Reed-Sanchez. I'm a cybersecurity professor at Bronx Community College. I'm also one of the lead instructors for the NextGen program. The idea with the NextGen program is we have several partnerships. There's YAYB, who's coordinating this program, Bronx Community College. A lot of our classes are out of the college. This grant is actually funded by the New York State. We're connecting with and collaborating with NYC Mesh, and we're doing a couple different certifications. So the Fiber Optic Association certification and the Certified Wireless Network Professional certification. And I also have a company called Saycell, which I'll get to a little bit later on. So Saycell. So the goals of this program are to expand career pathways for students into wireless networking, fiber installations, and in general the tech sector. We're providing 165 hours of industry-informed trainings, provide hands-on experience in building Wi-Fi networks, that's why we're here, and building IoT devices. The students themselves will get certified wireless technician credentials and certified fiber technician credentials. And then we're also supporting participants with career readiness, as well as placement opportunities in networking or tech sector jobs. So if you guys have any leads on where our students can be placed, we're definitely very, very interested in hearing from you, and we'll be trying to talk to you as.
Please let me know.
In terms of the progression, the course progression, we have something called the Foundations course, which is just fundamentals of computer networking. And then we go into certified wireless technician certification prep and the test that's coming up soon, and the certified fiber technician prep and test as well. We're having 3 cohorts. We're just starting with, actually we're kind of in the middle of the first cohort, and we'll be starting the second cohort in May. For the foundations course, we're working with the Internet Society. I'm sure a lot of you guys are either Internet Society members or know about the Internet Society, because NYC Mesh is part of the Internet Society. So they're providing the fundamentals of designing and deploying computer networks course, and we're working with them to do that part of our curriculum. The Certified Wireless Technician is a certificate. It's a pretty technical certificate, less hands-on, but these certificates tend to be useful when trying to get a career in the industry. And it's the same thing with the fiber optic technician certificate. So they'll be doing that over the summer. They'll be doing the certified fiber optic technician course. Obviously, we're here with NYC Mesh. Our students will be volunteering with NYC Mesh and finding how they can either, link up with some of the existing installation at sites, but also the idea is that we're going to also do some of the installations with the YAYB buildings, because they have several buildings in East Harlem. Other labs that we'll be working on is building IoT devices, so I'll get into a little bit of that. So I have a company called Saycell, and a little bit about myself. I've done a lot of community networking. In Dominica, I helped build out a community network in an indigenous community. This was after one of the hurricanes. And we first started with 4 nodes throughout in the indigenous Kalinago community on the island of Dominica. It's now grown into like 30 or 40 access points in that area, so it's been pretty successful. This was probably 7 years ago now. Wow. I've done a lot of other work in Puerto Rico, doing community wireless workshops, and also built out some networks in Kenya and in Nicaragua. So in Nicaragua, I built out, it's kind of like where I started my company, Saycell, and the idea was we're bringing communications where it's needed most. Originally, I was there in 2005 to 2012. I ran a multimedia center there for several years. We worked with local musicians and local students and provided classes in like website development, audio production, video production. And we were in a region on the Caribbean side of Nicaragua, and there is no roads to the different communities. So everything is, traveled by boat. And actually, when I was there, there was no roads to the capital either. So it was pretty isolated in that way. And our efforts were really to work with the community there and improve their technical skills, but also record their culture. So we did that for several years. Eventually, I ended up coming back to New York, got my master's degree at NYU ITP. I don't know if you guys know that program, but it's kind of a mad scientist school. It's used to be part of the art school, but a technology-based program. And I got really obsessed with open source community cellular networks. And so part of my thesis was to actually deploy a cell network on one of the remote islands called Little Corn Island. And so I did that, and it was successful for a time. Technically, it was successful, but sometimes building networks is not, the technical part is not always the hard part. Sometimes it's actually the social part. So how turn it into a business and actually having to deal with the legal ramifications of actually putting up a community cell phone network is challenging. So the project is no longer active, but it was a very good experience, and it can be done. There's other networks internationally. One of the biggest is in Mexico, Rhizomatica, if you haven't heard of them. They have a huge indigenous community cell phone network in southern Mexico, and we've worked with them quite a bit. Besides that, I've built a Wi-Fi mesh network at Black Rock Forest, which is about an hour north of here, so across the river from Beacon, if you know where Beacon is, or Newburgh, a little bit south of Newburgh. Black Rock Forest is an environmental research forest. It's a consortium. They work with several universities and high schools. So if you're part of the consortium, you can send students there and they can do research. And we got an NSF grant to deploy a Wi-Fi network. This is about 5 years ago as well, 5, 6, something like that. So I worked there. In Nicaragua, when I was there, this was the cost of the prepaid cell phone at the time, and everybody had prepaid cell phones, so 50 cents a minute. That's kind of what inspired me to try to change the system. And I really like it. This is the building of the regulator in Nicaragua. I really like how they have that old phone. It's pretty cool. At that time, the internet penetration rate in Nicaragua was about 27%, so really, really low. Especially there's a lot of rural communities. It's grown since then, but that's what it was then. And one of the amazing things about this area is that there's blue fields on the Caribbean side, and there is actually a subsea cable landing station there. It looks like this. I always say the internet's kind of dirty, but it doesn't look this bad anymore. There's a street there now. So eventually, as the cell phone network wasn't really going to be able to scale very easily, we transitioned to being a fiber to the home network. And we were able to deploy fiber. So one of the things I did is I bought access to existing fiber in the city through a cable TV company who actually doesn't use it for internet. They only use it for cable TV. I was able to purchase that. And then one of the other reasons I did this is I couldn't get residential internet at my house. So I was like, I guess I gotta build it. So, yeah. Yeah, well, they had that prepaid USB thing. You watch like 2 videos, you're done. You gotta buy some more internet. It was really annoying. So now I get unlimited internet and headaches because, running a network can be a headache. This is, basically what it's like to install fiber there. We do everything on the pole. And one of our things is we can go, to places that look like this. So if there's a pole, we can get there. This is the other network that I built in Olekasasi in Kenya. This is a Wi-Fi community network right outside Nairobi. And this is in Black Rock Forest. So some other pictures from the forest of our installation. It was a pretty big job, actually, because you guys do a lot of wireless networking here, but now we're adding trees and rain and mountains and batteries. They had to climb up mountains, but we did it, and we're looking to expand, actually. And then we also build these like sensor kits that we could deploy in the forest. And actually, I'm working on a new project too, where we're putting Wise cams. We're actually hacking Wise cams, just like Wi-Fi cameras, and then we're going to use AI to basically look at the footage and then classify it by animals. So that's another project I'm working on at BCC. But most of all, I just like teaching, and that's why. So all of this experience led me to eventually, teach what I know. So that's the idea with the NextGen program, to teach all these skills that can, that they can use in order to further their careers. So that's the little bit about the NextGen Digital Workforce Program, and Adam can talk a little bit about YAYB specifically.
Sure. So aside from all the technical stuff that Edwin was mentioning, our goal with the program is to not only get them trained, but get them connected to some type of career network. So aside from the ISOC course and then the hands-on stuff that they're doing at BCC, we're tapping them into financial literacy classes, as well as something called social capital, which is sort of like a networking philosophy, so that they can actually take their skills that they're learning and capitalize on, use them to the max. And as Edwin mentioned, right, we're seeking out partners
that could potentially, employ our students, right? So, that's part of the reason why we're here, is to get them some, hands-on field work. But yeah, basically the end of the line for them is once they get their 2 certifications, we're, getting them tapped into different job networks across the city and state through, our grants, the 2 of which are the Employment and Train Coalition and then Empire State Development, that's ESD.
So that's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Are you using a learning management system?
There's a mic there. He asked if we're using a learning management system. We currently use the ISOC. It has a learning management system. I believe it's built on Moodle, and that's. And then there's another learning management system for the fiber optic. I mean the certified wireless technician trainings.
I'd like to talk at the end.
Okay, sure.
Does any participant care to share any of their experiences, or no? It's okay, you don't have to.
All right. All right. No other questions? Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for presenting. Very, very exciting stuff. I'm curious, if you're looking for, to establish a sort of a pipeline with NYC Mesh. Is this a one-time thing, or are we trying to build a consistent, permanent sort of formal program around this?
Ideally, yes, we're trying to build that pipeline for NYC Mesh. Right now, we have funding for a year or a year and a half. And so this is sort of it's beyond a pilot because we've ran a pilot before, but the idea is that each cohort will be able to volunteer with NYC Mesh, and hopefully they actually stay on too as well. So.
How are you all getting integrated in with us? Are you going to be on the Slack, or because that's how we do a lot of our work, but how do we connect, on a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're just starting this partnership, so the Slack channel would probably be a good way to start. The other idea is that we're going to have cohorts of students that we're hoping to specifically have as volunteers with NYC Mesh to be able to assist on some of the installations.
They'll
as
have
well
to be
as,
in the Slack, yeah.
As well as build out an installation with the YAYB buildings.
So as we mentioned, we have YAYB owns 16 buildings in East Harlem, and we know that Brooklyn has a far more robust NYC Mesh network than Upper Manhattan does. So that's part of the goal, is that we have the manpower to sort of expand that in our community.
Oh, and I'm slowly but surely trying to get a connection at our NYC Mesh connection at Bronx Community College, but bureaucracy.
Do any of those YAYB buildings have a fiber connection backhaul on the bottom of them?
I don't know, actually. They don't. I don't know if they currently have it.
That would really help.
Yeah.
Right here. Take this one.
How do you?
There you go. Others?
I looked at this in terms of backhaul. We're probably just going to go off a link SXT, a link NYC kiosk for a while. There are a couple buildings that they have that have line of sight to a kiosk, and so we'll start off of a VPN, and then as it grows, we should be able to get something that hops to CCNY. Yep.
All right.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, cool.
For some of the, this isn't Youth Asking Youth Build related, but for some of the remote networks that you've been doing in the various places, how have you been finding have you been doing it all literally by yourself, or have you been trying to collect people from the community or bring people along with you? Yeah, how do you staff?
Definitely not by myself.
Yeah.
In Nicaragua, now it's just a company that now pretty much operates by itself, which is good. I did not so much hand holding, but at first it was a lot of hand holding, even if it was remotely.
So you hired locally, and then the company kind of took off from there.
And basically it just runs itself at this point. You know, once you have a system, it's just, especially with fiber, I find it actually easier than Wi-Fi. It just kind of works. Wireless stuff is black magic. But, the Kalinago network in Dominica, they just had a really strong, it's like 3 people that were just really interested in doing the work, and they took off with it, and they've been able to find grants and finance that network. The Kenyan network, a similar thing, not quite as strong as the Kalinago network, but it's the same idea. But yeah, mostly you try to find locals who are really interested in the projects, try to find some initial funding that can sort of put them in the right path. ISOC is pretty good at getting funding for these kind of projects. I got some bad stories too, but there's the good and the bad, but it's okay. Yeah. But yeah, you got to find that community.
Right.
Like here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What we end up finding is that we have a lot of our core volunteer group that goes out to remote locations, and I think one of the things we want to work on is trying to teach the locals of whatever neighborhood we're working in to, I guess, self-start a little bit more, right? Share the knowledge, and then they can troubleshoot and stuff on their own, as opposed to have to wait a week for someone to come out and check on things for them. So this is kind of a growing pain that we're struggling with at the moment.
Yeah, it's always a challenge, right? Because it's, especially here in New York, people have a lot of other stuff to do. Over there, at least, like, you can entice them with free internet. Over here, they get free internet, but there's other options as well. So it makes it a little more challenging. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
All right.
All right, thank you guys.
Cool.
Thank you, NextGen. And this is a night of special guests. We have an additional presentation, a short update from Leiden about our relationship with Link NYC. But first, I want to introduce Ron Suarez, who shares my surname. We're probably cousins, like some conquistador from, 500 years ago. It's our great uncle.
No, right here.
And you were here in 2017? Do you want to roll up?
Yeah, I'll roll up a little bit.
And Willer, you want to hook up here?
Do you have a video? Like, is it just the video, or do you want a slideshow?
It's YouTube, but I have a bit.ly link.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Ron. He's going to talk about his initiative to start more orgs like NYC Mesh all over the country.
Putting a live mic on the table causes the table to act as a soundboard, which makes the whole thing echo. So it's not a good idea. Okay.
So it's bit.ly/ we can connect this, but I'm going to talk for a minute before you start that. So I'll start.
This is going to go a little bit closer here. Okay. We're going to test the video audio before you get going.
Yeah. Is the audio plugged in right now?
It's not turned up right now.
But is it plugged in?
Plugged in.
Cable's a little spoiled.
So is it okay if I talk while you guys are connecting the video? Sure. Okay, so I first met Jolly around 2010 at WordPress meetups. In 2000, so I grew up in New York City. I actually, until I was 4, we lived in East Harlem, 113th Street and Lexington. So, and then I went to New York University before it became Bronx Community College, before they sold the property. But anyhow, then in 2011, my wife Marguerite and I were web developers 1 and 2 for the website for Occupy Wall Street that registered 9,000 people into 100 working groups. And Jolly did a video of me introducing the site to the group leaders from 100 working groups. We registered 9,000 people into 100 working groups, where each group had their own discussion forums, their own calendar, and their own document management system, which was, how do you organize 9,000 anarchists? It's very much like herding cats. But that's the kind of thing that I'm into. And now, what I've started, it's We Can Connect Us. We Can Connect.us. We have a learning management system, which I want to talk to Edwin about later. And we use BuddyBoss, which is a hard fork of the free open source Buddy Press, which we used in Occupy Wall Street. As much as I like free open source, the premium plugin, I was happy to pay for it. And I've got extra licenses that I can share with people, and it saves me a lot of time. I use artificial intelligence as an assistant, and in a moment when we start this video, I wrote most of the transcript for it, but the video effects were all done by artificial intelligence. Are we, okay. So let's start that.
We good? We good to go?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right.
Imagine a world where almost half of the population has no access to the internet. It's a startling reality that 47% of the world's population is still offline. This digital equity gap is a massive hurdle in our increasingly connected world. Now picture this. A small community tucked away in a corner of the world takes matters into its own hands. They decide to bridge this digital divide, not just for themselves, but for future generations to come. This is their story. In the heart of this community, the school library stands as a beacon of knowledge. Beyond books, it thrives as a tech hub, sowing seeds of change. The library birthed a local internet mesh network, an ingenious solution redefining the internet's concept. Instead of depending on big corporations, the community collaborates, creating a network of devices sharing internet access. Schools, businesses, homes become nodes in this network, contributing and benefiting from this joint resource. It's not just a tech breakthrough, but a social revolution. The community isn't merely consumers. They are the providers, maintainers, decision makers. Power shifts from few to many, a move towards community-owned internet networks. This shift is a colossal leap towards digital equity, underlining the strength of collective efforts and local administration. It's a beacon for other communities worldwide to follow suit. In the pursuit of digital equity, understanding that the internet was once a public commons is crucial. Before its privatization, the NSF-Net served all as a shared resource. Today, our featured community seeks to revert the internet to its roots, as a public commons. This journey, a testament of Platform Cooperative's potential to foster systemic change, holds immense significance. Empowering community organizations to take ownership of their internet infrastructure is a viable solution for bridging digital equity gap. Within this community, teachers govern the platform cooperative, students evolve into group leaders, and with time, become teachers themselves. It's a cycle of empowerment, a sustainable for network growth and maintenance. The story is more than overcoming adversity. It's a blueprint for a more equitable digital future. Achieving digital equity is a marathon, not a sprint. Fundamental systemic changes are essential, not mere Band-Aid solutions. However, as our community illustrates, it's a marathon worth running. For when the internet becomes a public commons once more, the world becomes a connected, equitable place for all. In conclusion, the key points of this story are community ownership, platform cooperatives, and restoring the internet as a public commons. This underlines the of communal control, systemic change, and digital equity. The challenge exists, but with combined efforts, innovation, and tenacity, it can be mitigated. Because when the internet is for everyone, the possibilities are endless.
So I've heard Brian Hall talk about the Commons and Eleanor Ostrom and her works in that regard. And that's what we're trying to do, restore the internet as a public commons. You know, back in 2017, when I first joined NYC Mesh before my spinal cord injury in 2018, I went on a couple of rooftop installs. And what struck me was that like anybody who knew how to use a hand drill could like immediately become a useful member of the team to volunteer. And I saw this as a great pathway. And I'm working, you know, while I think things like the Affordable Connectivity Program are valuable, I think it's a Band-Aid that offers a temporary solution like welfare, you know, is necessary to help people, but doesn't solve the basic economic problems that we have. And I think the way to solve that is by us taking ownership of the thing. And in that regard, you know, my background is Latino. I was born in Spanish Harlem, and I'm working with a Latino in Manhattan, another Latino in Alabama, African Americans in Chicago and in North Carolina, all of which are running internet enterprises. And we've just gotten started, but we've created Lime.community. Lime is Local Internet Minority Enterprises. So, you know, instead of, you know, the government, you know, giving a handout for things, you know, it's a hand up to, you know, help people to be, you know, in control. And I'm hoping that Edwin will want to talk to me at the end, because he's doing some very valuable things and can be a part of our community. We are a platform cooperative. Have people heard that term? Raise your hand if you've heard it. Uber is a platform. It connects drivers and passengers. Here in New York City is drivers.coop. And the people who drive the cars own the company and run it. And I think it's called Up and Go. It's like women who like previously worked for agencies that, you know, mostly Latina, who like went into homes to clean the houses. They have their own cooperative where they own the business. They're not wage slaves to somebody else. So, you know, what I'm doing is, since I can't go up on rooftop installs and do that kind of thing anymore, for the past 2 years, I've been sitting at my computer on weekends, much to the chagrin of my wife, instead of exercising up to 8 to 10 hours a day. And, you know, now really looking to bring on partners, and the people who become teachers on our platform will help to govern the platform. And I'm 73, you know, I'm not looking, I've started 4 software companies in the past. I'm not looking to be the person in charge of this forever, but light the fire to get it going. And you know, really see tremendous opportunity with the people who are part of NYC Mesh to get involved with this and use the knowledge that you guys have been gaining over here to get paid to help other communities come up to speed with this sort of thing. So, questions?
Mics are on the table.
I could go first. I'm curious about how do you like keep momentum, right? You've been doing this for a while, and I'm wondering about like what is the key to, you know, like in the previous presentation we talked about the community enablement and stuff like that. So I'm curious, you know, what your experience with that kind of thing has been.
Well, while I'm really impressed with NYC Mesh and what's happened here, I think that many other communities can't do a volunteer-based thing. There has to be a revenue model. And while I know Brian Hall doesn't like blockchain, Althea offers blockchain technology that's basically Stripe for machines. It enables machine-to-machine payments. So you flash your router so that you buy bandwidth from upstream and you sell it to downstream. And you have a slider in your user interface. So you can slide it from latency to how much money you're willing to pay for it. And if somebody is downstream from you, you're making money from them. So particularly in rural areas, that's important. Like here, where you can have one antenna on top of an apartment building, that's less critical. But yeah, in many other areas of the country, it's important for people to act as relays. And I'm really looking I did another video with the AI that talks about circular economy. So really, the guy that I'm working with in Montana, he's Mexican-American descent, but the only, there's a lot of poor white people where he lives, but there's also tribal reservations. And he lives in the poorest county in the state of Montana. And in places like that, I'm looking for ways that we help to grow the circular economy, to bring more kinds of business and opportunities that don't exist in those areas. And it's only by, kids that come from wealthier families can afford to do unpaid internships. I really don't believe in unpaid internships. I mean, some people have to do them sometimes because that's the only way to get by in today's society. But I'm really looking to change that, and we're just starting now to seek grant money. And the first thing that we'd like to do is to create paid internships. So the kind of young kids that go through Edwin's program, so we can pay them to get involved with stuff. And if people here have knowledge that you can spread to other communities, we'd like to be able to pay you. And Zach, I know you volunteer a tremendous number of hours for this group, and I've always been impressed in the past hearing you speak and do presentations. I don't know how much more time you have to do things, but I'd like to see people with your kind of knowledge be able to spread that to other communities around the country and around the world.
Sure, thanks. We have a lot of new people who do a lot of things now, so we're quite spread out.
Can you use the mic?
Okay, by the way, if you go to our sign-up page on ipcpc.org, you'll see your picture putting up an antenna. Anybody else? Oh, so is there anybody else after me? Is that it?
One more.
One more, okay. I will back up then.
You don't need to use my laptop?
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Make sure where all the mics are.
Yeah. I have.
All right, well, one mic out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can you
Okay.
put one on?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll wait until you're back there and I'll get started. That's clever. Huh. Yeah, it's not a presentation. All right. Hi, everyone. I just wanted, a couple people mentioned it, so I wanted to just give a very brief overview of what this Link NYC thing that people keep talking about is. I have no presentation prepared. Oh, I'm Leiden. Leidenthorpe. I do volunteers. I'm mostly in Park Slope, so I've been doing a lot of stuff down in that area, but also do volunteers and installs and outreach and a bunch of other random stuff. Yeah. fashion design. I'm gonna plug, yeah, well, might as well do the plug first. So one of my recent things is we have a merch store now. So if you go on our website and you click this fancy link that says merch, we have an example here. The elusive NYC Mesh hats that a few people have from like 6 years ago, you can buy them now. And they're actually reasonably priced. They are this price. This is the price that Spring sells them for, so we're not making any money on them, but you can go ahead and order them. And if anyone has any ideas for other things to make, tell me, and I'll make them, because this is what I came up with at the time. Oh, yes. We got the Mesh logo Oreos?
Oh, Oreos?
Yeah. I never actually saw them in person.
They went fast.
Yeah. There's still one there? Okay. Yeah, apparently you can get like big Oreos with custom printed logos on them. Are
they still vegan?
I don't know. Ask. Yeah, I did not order. I was not involved in the Oreo.
Little caps, water bottles, coffee cups.
Yeah, I could make coffee cups. It's basically if Spring has it as a product, I will slap the PNG of the Mesh logo on it, and people can buy it. I will do coffee cups. Yes. Send me the MeshDB logo, and I can make a MeshDB coffee cup. Yeah. So so if you just go, so you can see this is like the actual store URL, or if you just go on the NYC Mesh website, there's a.
No, I want to sell merch for my thing.
Oh, it's Teespring is the name of the. They're a print to order merch company. So you like go on their website and like slap your logo on stuff, and then people buy it, and it just ships directly to them. It's like, I don't know, every drop shipper's like favorite thing on the planet. But yeah, that's the merch plug. And then the other thing is, so we're talking. I've been talking with some of the folks from Link NYC, who are the people who do like the street side kiosks with the public Wi-Fi and like the screens and the ads and all that fun stuff. For a while, there have been people who have been connecting to Link NYC kiosks with an antenna on their roof, which works okay. But recently, we've been talking with them to kind of have more collaboration. Basically, they are trying to find ways to expand their network beyond what is reachable with just, Wi-Fi off their kiosks. And they reached out to us saying, hey, you guys are running a wireless network. What are the options to kind of work together and try to build something? So the project right now is this hub down here is called Flatbush Cats. It's off Flatbush Avenue. It's on the top of a vet clinic. And basically what we're doing is, the current plan right now is there's a Link NYC kiosk on the street in front of that building. As you can see here, here's a photo of that kiosk. So this is one of their new kiosks, which basically, so the old kiosks are they're just plain old, 5 gigahertz regular old Wi-Fi. And then they also have like a tablet on them, which can do, you can make phone calls from it. You can charge your cell phone. You can access, 311, social services, 911, that kind of stuff. These new kiosks have all the same stuff at the bottom, but in the top, they have these bays. And basically what they're doing is telecom carriers or cell phone companies or kind of anyone else who's interested can rent out space in these bays and can put their own equipment in it with power and data and whatnot. So basically what Link NYC is doing is they're providing us with space in this tower We're going to be probably in the third bay down here, which obviously from this photo has line of sight to the Flatbush Cats rooftop. So the plan right now is I've been working on speccing out equipment. We did a site survey with them. So the plan is we're going to be putting a point-to-point link from Flatbush Cats into, we're going to be putting an antenna in this kiosk. So there's going to be a point-to-point link to Flatbush Cats. And then the really cool thing is Link NYC has graciously offered us a fiber backbone, a spare fiber, dark fiber connection across their existing fiber network that will go back to our DataVerge SN3 data center. So basically what that means is that Flatbush Cats down here will be becoming a fiber connected node, but there's a point-to-point in between. So not exactly fiber connected, but we're going to be getting a gigabit or greater link to Flatbush Cats. And the idea is, we're going to do this. This is the pilot project. We're going to do it on this building. We're going to see what happens. There's a few different things in here. We're going to do it on this building. We're going to see if it works. And then, there may be options to kind of roll this out for other places in the city. Specifically, if you go on our map, the data for this is a little bit out of date, but so there's Link NYC, there's a couple different layers here. There's Link NYC Classic, which are the old kiosks, which can be connected to with an SXT, with a 5 gigahertz SXT. It's 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. They're not the best, but these Link NYC 5G layer shows in very, very, very tiny dots, which is something that we need to fix. These minuscule orange dots are the 5G Link NYC kiosks. So areas that we may be looking at is like up here in Harlem. There's a few around here somewhere. Like you can see, there's a few. There's a few in this area and here and whatnot. So the basic idea is that if this project works out, Link NYC may be able to provide us some backbone infrastructure that we can use to get fiber and to get connectivity into areas where we don't have line of sight connections. So we can use Link NYC's network as backbone to expand to some areas. No, we're right now for the trial building. Right now, we're going to do it. We're going to see if it works, and then going forward, we're going to talk. There's been talk about maybe trying to get some grants or some funding or something to support this going forward. Once we get the trial online, we'll be.
Can get the backhaul for free?
So basically, what's happening? Yeah.
Who's talking?
Yeah. I'll repeat the question. So the question is this going to be for free? Are we getting the backhaul for free? And the answer is, right now, for this first building, yes. They're going to provide us a dark fiber link back to our data center because they happen to be in the DataVerge SN3 data center, same as us. So we're in the same building. We may need to get a cross connect and do some stuff in the data center to get connected. We still need to figure out exactly how that's going to work. But going forwards, we will be looking at how we want to do this. The main things is, for them, it's fiber that's not being used. We may need to make some splices. People may need to go out and splice fiber under the streets in a couple of different places. So we may need to cover the cost for that and some other things.
That's a block from my house.
Which one? Flatbush Cats?
Flatbush
Oh,
Cats.
awesome.
So I'm a member of the local residents association.
Yep.
Is there anything I can do locally?
Yes. The big thing is right now, as you can see, Flatbush Cats has not very much around it. If I turn on the potentials, so for those who aren't aware, this layer is all these gray dots are people, basically anyone who's ever filled out the join form, they're on here. As you can see, there's a decent amount of coverage, there's a decent amount of demand kind of to the north of Flatbush Cats, Prospect Park South, Kensington, up this way. One of the nice things about this is once, if we get presumably we get the fiber working and everything.
Before that building was built, I was,
yeah.
It was the Crystal Ballroom, and then they knocked it down and built that building.
Yeah.
And then the guy, the councillor, the punk rock councillor from Bay Ridge, pulled the money for Flatbush Cats.
Interesting.
But behind it, on this to the west, there are a couple of other tall buildings as well.
Okay.
There's apartment blocks.
Yeah.
So whether it's gonna, I'm wondering how much of line of sight it's gonna have out of there. Have you gone up on the roof and looked?
Yes, Flatbush Cats is pretty low. It will provide coverage up and down the street.
But not east, but not west, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not the tallest building in the area. So one of the main things we're going to do is we're going to do an outreach push in the area, and we're just going to see if you or if anyone else has.
At the moment, my building is going nuts because they want to put cellular antennas on the top, and everybody is they're up in arms in protest because the tin foil hat. Phenomenon.
Yeah, tell them to put mesh on top. Yeah, so the main thing is once we get this online is, ideally it'd be great to be able to expand, further out this way, and, just kind of keep expanding our coverage further south. But a lot of that is going to be, outreach, talking with buildings, if we can find, we're going to have
You zoom in.
Yep.
I'm right there.
In here somewhere. Okay. Yeah. I don't see a join request on the map.
The thing about that neighborhood is that Ivan Soderbergh, when he decided to do FiOS, he was like a South Brooklyn Jew, and so he hooked up the old neighborhood, and so we have the original fiber to the home. Before they screwed it up, it's faultless, and not a lot of people use it. And so those of us that have got FiOS from that neighborhood are ecstatically happy.
Yeah, that may have something to do with not having that many people wanting mesh there, or they may just not know that we exist.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
The reason I asked about the backhaul, because it seems to be something of a black art around the country to figure out how to get a backhaul, and no one will really tell you how much they're going to charge for it up front. In Michigan, I was able to find a middle mile provider who basically wouldn't charge for getting the connection, but then just do a monthly charge. In Ann Arbor, where I live right downtown, they built a fiber ring around the city with all this tax money, and they want a $100,000 entry fee just to get a connection, and then $12,000 a year for a pair of fiber.
Yeah.
So and I'm not so much trying to build a particular network as to try to help various communities, and we're launching what we're calling community management as a service, and that's where I need help from lots of other people to get into the mix to provide that. So when a new community wants to come on board and they've got 1,000 different questions, we have a whole bunch of people that can get access.
Yeah, basically I think the main thing for us is we don't know how much they're going to give us, but whatever they're able to donate, we'll take. We can use it. It'll help us expand. It'll help us. We can kind of think. Once we get this This one just kind of happened to be where we would put it. If someone came up to me and said, hey, we'll give you fiber to a place of your choice in the city, I probably would have picked somewhere other than here. But it is where we have it, and then and we can also assuming this pilot goes well, we can think about other places in the city where we may be able to work with them and do it. Oh yes.
I just wanted to add. Thank you. I just wanted to add maybe a topic for another meetup is to go back over outreach. Because Chris is our outreach vista, along with Ugo, the other outreach vista, and these are full-time, one-year volunteers helping us build our capacity, right? And the thought was we really have to do outreach, right? And get Jolly's building signed up, get all these gray dots signed up, get new people signed up. Link NYC has a program called, what's it called? I don't know. It's an advertising thing that nonprofits.
This mic actually needs to be switched on.
Yeah, but Link NYC gave us free advertising?
They have been. So yeah, I believe it's Link Local, I think. Well, not that.
So, just for the people at home, real quick, we want to ramp up our outreach. I want to give a shout out to our outreach specialists, community outreach specialists, the Vistas. Chris is here. He gave a presentation last month, so you can look that up on YouTube. And the other outreach specialist is Ugo, who started end of August, right? Link Local will offer small businesses and nonprofits 2 free kiosk advertisements for their events and their businesses, right? So I've actually been advertising mostly in Sunset Park because we have a new hub on the Sunset Park Library on the 2 kiosks nearest to the library. They don't go quite as far south as the library, but one of the main train stations, we have 2 kiosks there and south of there. And we're also in talks with Link NYC about, in our partnership, why don't you just let us we'll tell you the neighborhoods, we'll tell you the kiosk numbers, we'll give you a list, give us a couple of ads, what's it gonna cost them? It's just put us in the rotation, right? But the ads in Sunset Park are in English and in Spanish. It's really awesome. And so a shout out to Ugo's work, because she reached out to the person who was running the Link Local administration, and that person in Link NYC hooked us up with Rob Sakota, who's like the head of Link NYC, right? And this is how we're getting to the point where his engineers are talking to Leiden about which equipment to put in a 5G tower, which they're planning to rent out for money, right? So this is an awesome opportunity that they're giving us. And just to point out that not only is this going to benefit Mesh, because it's going to give us backhaul in an area where we have a very long link over to Sunset Park and a very long link over to Prospect Heights.
This building right now, so this link is a 60 gigahertz link to Prospect Heights, which is great and fast and goes down in the rain. And this link here is a power beam. It's a Air Max power beam link that stays up in the rain and gets 50
scroll down
megabits
to
per second.
Parkside. Scroll down and show Parkside.
Park? Oh,
or
down
Flatbush.
Yeah.
There's a cluster that's far from Prospect Heights.
Prospect, yeah. Parkside cluster. Here we are.
But north of Flatbush Cats, and it would really be great to get a high-speed link between these 2 clusters, right? I think that the reason why they're talking to us and offering us this backhaul is because we have a lot to offer them. And what we sold to them was they have a lot of negative tinfoil hat or whatever. Like, a lot of people don't like these 5G towers. They're huge. They're 30 feet tall. They're like 3 feet around, because they have bays in the top for them to rent room for people to put cellular antennas, right? It's meant for 5G. So by working with us, we sold it to them that we will extend the network past the buildings where the kiosks are. Because what happens is if your window is staring at a kiosk, you have a free 300 megabit, gigabit connection out your window. But the person in the back of your building and the buildings behind that building don't see that kiosk. because the building is in the way. But we can take their signal, bring it to our roof, and give it to the entire neighborhood, which can give it to the next neighborhood. And I think they like that. They want to explore this avenue with us. And if it's a big success, maybe we can just do it everywhere. And that's why we need volunteers to help with the outreach, to help with tracking systems so that we can accurately report the success of this pilot program. So, look at the Link NYC channel if you want to get involved with that.
Mike, where's Mike? Oh, yeah.
Who's Mike?
I think we're down to 2 microphones. You say, I guess my question is a follow-up to that, Marg, is like, what are they expecting from us? Like, do we have clarity on like what will make this a success from their perspective, right? Because sort of like, oh yeah, they want some good press, right? Like it's very vague and it's hard for us to like, do they want to serve 10 nodes, 100 nodes? Like I just think it would be useful if we had some clarity around that, so we had a goal we could drive towards.
That's a good point, and I don't think we know because we just made this up. So in the conversations with them, let's flesh this out. But I think both of us have the sense, Mesh and Link NYC have the sense that this is good for both organizations.
Who has whatever.
So, yeah, I mean, first of all, this is awesome. Like, if we can get fiber connections via Link NYC, that's like amazing for the mesh. But I mean, just to follow up on that, I'm pardon my ignorance on Link NYC, but I don't really understand. I don't know what their business model is, and I'm trying to understand like what is in it for them to provide us. Because I understand, we might be covering the cost of actually doing some of the fiber work or whatever, but overall, if we expand and it's a success and they're providing us with all these connections, what are they actually getting out of it?
Yeah, from my understanding, their core business model is advertising. Like they're funded by advertising. So all these kiosks you see on the street that are always running ads, each side of the kiosk has a 54-inch TV or whatever on the side. Those are running ads, and that is paying. That advertising is paying for the kiosk, the power, the backbone to, they basically every single one of these, every Link NYC kiosk you see in the street has a fiber cable going into the bottom of it, and there's just a line running all the way down the street. So a lot of that is, right now they're primarily advertising funded. I think their next thing is these 5G kiosks where they can start selling space to the telecoms and to the they can start doing 5G, these like 5G kiosks where they can start putting cell phone towers and whatnot in the kiosks as well. So they're going to start getting revenue from that. The reason why they're working with us, I think, is partly a PR thing, positive press and whatnot. And I believe there was some stuff that came up recently with the New York City or state. There was some New York like New York broadband legislation or something.
Oh, Brian has something to say here. Never mind.
Wait, so do you mean on that
Yeah.
they might be getting funding as a result of working with us, is what you're trying to say? Or I'm just trying to say.
Not exactly. I'm not too sure. I believe, basically what I'm saying is I believe there's a, I believe there's a government mandated push to provide service to low-income communities, and by working with us, they are able to fulfill that requirement of them.
Also, I believe out of those new towers at the top, those are all empty currently. I don't think they have those rented to any telcos. So I think they would like some dominoes to fall first, and we're an easy one to show proof of concept.
Yeah, so I was interested in Link NYC when they built them, so I know the history. So the company used to be called Titan. They owned all the phone booths. And basically, they were like, we have all these little pieces of land on the sidewalk that are wasting money, and people don't use phone booths anymore, so what do we do with it? And so they made a public-private partnership to get some funding to upgrade them to be these link kiosks. In return, they provided free Wi-Fi out of them. But now, that's kind of. They have the same office, and Google pays their rent, but they're not the same company. Yeah. So basically, they were just trying to make those little pieces of land useful again. And so that was the first generation of Link. Now they're, like Dan said, they're trying to also add 5G to them, since that's a good kind of reason to have them in the street.
Say, the original idea was kiosk, but everybody was watching porn on them, all the homeless people, so they had to kibosh the kiosk idea.
Do they still have kiosks? What? Okay.
You want a mic?
How about we do a breakout for everyone to look at NYC stuff?
Yeah.
What's up, breakout if you want to link at NYC?
Sure, yeah.
The idea for the working with the kiosk people was when they first built them, they were supposed to, they had to deal with the city. They were going to set up gigabit centers all around the city. And Silicon Harlem set up one with them. And I was trying to arrange that with them very early on.
They never did one in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, I think there may be 2 gigabit centers, but they were supposed to do more. But anyway, I knew that they had were open to doing collaborations.
Bronx and Harlem.
Yeah. So that's why we got this going again, because I knew that they'd be open to working with nonprofits.
I don't know very much of the backstory on this. I just showed up on a roof. I said yes to doing a site survey, and now it's my thing. Cool. Any other questions? Pizza's here, and I need to leave because I gotta go to work. Thanks, everyone.
Nice.